As you grow and expand your impact, as you grow and build the mission of the company, as you continue to move forward and progress day in and day out, the most important thing besides the actions is who is actually performing those actions, your team. And in order to have a team that's effective, that moves you and the company and the mission and everyone else forward, is who you let into that team. And the most important part about that is the entryway, the door, who you're letting on board, and how you do that is through a hiring process. That's why in this episode, what I want to go over is the hiring process. And I'm not going to go over just everything and anything. I want to go over two very specific points where I've seen entrepreneurs and business owners struggle the most. The first, especially for high growth startups with people like 5 to 10 teammates and they're growing fast and need to create new positions. The first is how to identify the key roles, characteristics, or even crafting a new job opening, a new job offer, a new position in the company. The second is the actual interview itself. And I'm not going to give you the exact questions I ask, but I am going to give you the interview flow that I use so that you can adapt it and make it better and improve it for your company. Now, as we work through these two main points, what I want you to keep in mind in the back of your head today, tomorrow, in the future, as you progress, as you grow, as you move the company forward, I want you to keep these two key things in mind. The first thing is I want you to continually ask yourself, quarterly, semi-annually, annually, how can I create an environment for my team to thrive? You see, you have complete control over the environment in which the team works in. From the culture, from the language, from the perks to how you treat each other, everything. You can control that. You can set the stage. How are you going to set the environment for the team to not only collaborate, innovate, thrive, solve problems, and move forward? Continually ask yourself that question. The second theme that I want to discuss and make sure that you keep in mind and that you reflect throughout this entire process, and again, 6 months, a year, continually repeating this process, and that is identifying from your team who are the potential future leaders. And I really want you to think about it in this way. Who are the potential leaders who will replace you? Who will replace your executive team? If everyone in your team left, who would be there to step up? Now, that's something that I know not a lot of people think about, but it's important to not only craft that team, but also nurture key players so that they can develop and become those future leaders of the company, because you're not building a hobby here. All right, so I want you to keep that in mind. The first, again, how am I crafting and creating the environment for my team to thrive? And two, keep in mind, who in my team is going to succeed me? Who is going to succeed my chief operating officer? Who is going to succeed my chief marketing officer? You need to keep those things in mind. Now, let's transition into the two main things that I see coaches, entrepreneurs, business owners struggle when it comes to the hiring process. The first is actually crafting that initial job opening or even creating a new job. For example, for fast-growing startups and companies, when you're creating new jobs, sometimes it's a brand new role and you need to identify what will this person actually be doing. The way that I like to do this and the way that I suggest you do it is meet with the actual department head, the person who's going to be working with that individual, that new hire, day in and day out. What I want you to do is set up 15 to 30 minutes with them, and I want you to identify what are the daily, weekly, and monthly tasks that this potential new hire will be doing. What do those tasks look like? And as you outline those specific tasks, I want you to do two things. One, I want you to identify what can I create training around? If you don't have that training already, what procedures, what documents, what videos, what can I have already ready for them before they ever get hired, so that when they do get hired, they have training material and hit the ground running. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to think about what are the experiences necessary for this person that they needed to have, or decisions or scenarios they should have been in order to succeed in this current position. And the reason why I distinguish the two is because we're distinguishing hard skills, technical skills versus soft skills. The reason why we do that is because you can't really teach an experience to someone else. You can take them through the ringer in your own company through experience, and then they can learn their own experiences. That will happen eventually. So now that you have this job role, you've crafted the position, you know what they're going to be doing. Now you can go to the market and start saying that you're looking to hire. A key tip that I'd recommend is that you use a language around long-term or sustainable or key player so that you can find and attract people who want to be committed to the company or to some sort of work that they're maybe interested in, because they're still not sold yet. They need to go to the interview and make sure that you are a good fit for them. So now let's transition into the interview flow. Now, in the interview flow, what I'm going to share with you are 3 key phases that I go through and that you can adapt, you can subtract, you can make it better. But this is just the interview flow that I use, and I'll give you some concrete examples of the types of questions that I ask. So now you have applicants, you have people knocking on your door. Let's interview them. The first stage after your chit chat, after your small talk, is I want you to ask a question around the long-term commitment that they may have or may not have. You can also do this in your application, but I want you to ask them on the actual interview. What's their commitment like? What are their goals? One of the questions that I've asked and that people weren't prepared for is I asked them the next 3 years, what are some of the skill sets you want to pick up? And a lot of people, when I asked them this, they weren't ready for that question. They were actually surprised and they were actually happy because we're doing 2 things here. We're giving them the opportunity to grow, and they can see that they can grow in this position or in other positions. And they're also in their back of their mind thinking for the long term. They're thinking for 3 years or more, right? So we've already got their engines kicking and running around longevity, commitment, and this can be a place for them to work in the future. Now, as we transition that, making sure that they are a good fit for you and that they can fulfill the job needs today, you also want to make sure that you are a good fit for them, because perhaps maybe some of the skill sets that they want to pick up or some of the goals that they have in the future, you may not be able to provide. And you got to be fair and honest with them. For example, let's say I'm hiring and I asked you, what are your key skill sets that you want to pick up? And let's say you want to learn accounting and then maybe become a CPA, but let's say we're hiring for a marketing position or a project management position. I don't have in my disposal today to give you the training that you need in order to become an expert accountant. So you need to be honest and make sure that not only can that person that you're hiring or you're interviewing fulfill the role for your company today, but that you can help them succeed in the long term. Again, remember, creating that environment. Now, the second phase of the interview that I like to go through is setting expectations. And this is dependent on your particular company, your particular product or service, and your industry. Some of the expectations I like to set that you can adapt. The first one is that I set the expectations for results. That I tell the person that regardless of the hours it takes or the work that's needed or the support that they need, is that we want to make sure that we can help them achieve results, the results that we want to see and the results that'll help them and the company move forward. The second expectation, and I believe you should adapt this if you don't do so already, is the expectations for clear communication. Clear communication with feedback loops, clear communication for when they can speak up and not feel reprimanded, clear communications that this is an open environment where they can share not only new innovative ideas, but also even feedback where you may need to correct yourself and become a better leader. And that expectations for clear communications, I set not only in the interview process, but also throughout the onboarding process and throughout the longevity of that person's career with the company, because communication is the key to resolving any issue and is the key to not having problems that you could have otherwise not have had if you talked about it or cleared any assumptions. Now in phase 3, what I like to do is pretty much let them know what next steps are. And that's highly dependent on how you have your hiring process. If you have HR is going to email them or give them a phone call, if you're going to tell them on the spot if they got the job or not, whatever that is, you need to give this interviewee closure and clear expectations of what's following and what's next. So as we've just gone through the two key areas that most business owners that I've worked with struggle with when it comes to crafting that new position or creating that job description to the actual interview itself, what I want you to do as you move forward and progress, I want you to keep, again, these couple things in mind. The first is do not fall into the trap of thinking that if you're a founder or a leader in the company and you're hiring your fourth, your fifth employee, or key personnel, I don't want you to fall into the common trap of just giving people tasks that you hate doing or that you do not like to do. Now, why do I say that? Because maybe the thing that you hate doing, they love to do. I want you to not think about it in that way. I want you to think about it in a way, what are some of the things other people can do better than I can? Because I want you to not think of the other person coming in as your garbage disposal. Because that comes with the mindset that we just discussed earlier when you want to craft the environment for the team to thrive. And you want to give the person that's coming in to support you and help you grow, you want to give them work that's meaningful and that you can attach not only to the bottom line of the company, but also the mission and the future. And that thinking, that little nuance, that little shift is what I'm talking about when it comes to crafting an environment where everyone can thrive. You also want to make sure that you distinguish and you understand who you are as a leader and how you're going to adapt your own leadership style with the team. Again, going back to how you're going to craft that environment, because you need to keep in mind that teams do not fail on their own. They're either led to success or they're being led to failure. And it's up to you to choose which direction you're going to take them in. So as you grow as a leader, as you grow in your hiring process, continue to keep in mind that it's not only important of the quality of person you let into the team, but also the quality of the environment that you create for the team. Remember that you do have an influence for that.